For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
One day in 2021, 35-year-old Janelle and 36-year-old Marco Concannon, seeking adventure, set off on a road trip into the remote Wonangata high country of Victoria, Australia. They established a quiet campsite, deep within a secluded spur. They never returned home. Despite an extensive, desperate investigation by authorities and volunteers, Janelle and Marco Concannon vanished without a trace from that isolated wilderness. For 4 agonizing years, their families endured crippling uncertainty, haunted by unanswered questions and the vast emptiness of the high country. Then, in 2025, a critical discovery was made using advanced thermal imaging, hinting at a dark, buried secret within the unforgiving landscape. This is the complete investigation into what happened to Janelle and Marco Concannon. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. Janelle and Marco Concannon, aged 35 and 36, embodied the spirit of modern-day adventurers. Their shared passion for the open road and the raw beauty of Australia's wild places defined their lives, often captured in vibrant photographs shared with a close circle of friends and family. In early 2021, their journey led them to the Wonangata high country in Victoria, a region celebrated for its majestic, yet notoriously unforgiving terrain. This sprawling wilderness, a labyrinth of dense eucalypt forests, precipitous valleys, and meandering tracks, represented the pinnacle of remote exploration for the experienced road trippers. They were last sighted heading towards a secluded spur, a location known for its profound solitude, far removed from any conventional routes. The serene isolation they sought was shattered. A subsequent patrol, navigating the challenging landscape days later, encountered a scene that instantly signaled profound distress. What should have been a vibrant, active campsite had been reduced to an abandoned, charred expanse. The fire had consumed their tent, personal belongings, and most of their supplies, leaving behind only the stark, blackened earth as evidence of its destructive force. This was unequivocally not the remnants of a controlled campfire. It was a deliberate, sweeping blaze that had seemingly aimed to erase all traces of the couple's recent presence. As authorities began their initial assessment of the remote site, unsettling clues emerged. Distinct, unfamiliar tire marks were clearly imprinted in the soft soil surrounding the burned area, indicating the presence of another vehicle, potentially around the time the fire erupted. Further disquieting information surfaced from fragmented reports of cryptic radio chatter originating from the vicinity of the campsite. These transmissions, though incomplete, strongly suggested a heated dispute, an altercation with an unidentified individual in the remote high country. The details were vague, yet the implication was chillingly clear. Janelle and Marco Concannon had not been alone. Their disappearance was abrupt and absolute, leaving behind a scorched camp, a trail of unsettling questions, and an overwhelming sense of dread. The Wonangata high country, a place they had cherished for its wild beauty, had seemingly swallowed them whole, transforming their adventure into a baffling mystery. The urgency and gravity of their vanishing act were immediately apparent, triggering an extensive yet daunting search operation. The remote and rugged topography of the Wonangata high country presented immediate and formidable challenges for the first responders. Reaching the burned-out campsite required an arduous journey, traversing treacherous tracks that tested the limits of 4-wheel-drive vehicles and the resolve of the search teams. Upon their eventual arrival, the scene was meticulously secured, transforming the desolate spur into a nascent crime scene. Initial assessments confirmed the severity of the fire, noting its intensity and the comprehensive destruction of the Concannon's camp. This was no accidental blaze. The deliberate nature of the inferno was evident, suggesting an intent to obliterate any trace. Every ash-covered square foot of earth was now critical, potentially holding the key to understanding the couple's fate. Forensic teams, dispatched to the isolated location, embarked on a painstaking examination of the charred remnants. Their objective was to discern the fire's origin, identify any accelerants, and meticulously sift through the debris for any trace of personal effects or signs of a struggle that might have survived the blaze. The ground was carefully gridded, and every fragment, no matter how small, was documented and collected, hoping to yield a single definitive clue. Simultaneously, efforts were launched to identify the distinctive tire marks found near the camp. Investigators sought to match these patterns against known vehicles in the region, compiling a registry of all vehicles that had legally accessed the high country around the time of the disappearance, hoping to ascertain who else might have been present on that remote spur. The cryptic radio chatter also became a priority. Specialists attempted to triangulate its source and analyze its content, desperate to place the hinted dispute into a clearer context and identify the unknown individual involved. Concurrently, extensive search operations were initiated. Ground crews supported by aerial surveillance systematically scoured the vast and unforgiving landscape surrounding the burned campsite. Helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft flew methodical patterns over dense forests and deep ravines, while experienced trackers navigated the challenging terrain on foot, enduring extreme weather and difficult terrain. Yet, the sheer scale of the Onondaga high country proved an immense, almost insurmountable obstacle. The profound remoteness, coupled with the complete absence of any concrete witnesses or a clear direction of travel for the Konkanians, severely hampered progress. With each passing day, the lack of tangible evidence or a definitive lead deepened the mystery, pushing investigators towards the grim realization that Janelle and Marco Konkanen had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only perplexing questions and an echoing silence, a case that seemed destined to defy resolution. As the initial frantic search efforts yielded no definitive answers, the investigative momentum around Janelle and Marco Konkanen's disappearance began its inevitable decline. Weeks bled into months, and the extensive resources initially deployed across the Onondaga high country were gradually scaled back. Without new leads or concrete evidence to pursue, the once urgent investigation settled into a frustrating stasis. The vastness of the high country, which had initially presented a challenge, now became an impenetrable barrier, its dense forests and rugged ravines seemingly swallowing any potential clues whole. The unforgiving landscape, once a place of adventure for the Konkanens, had become a silent accomplice to their vanishing, its sheer scale overwhelming human efforts to uncover the truth. 4 years passed since the discovery of the burned campsite. 4 years marked by unanswered questions, by the fading hopes of family, and by the gnawing frustration of Detective Malloy and her team. What began as a high-priority missing persons case gradually transformed into a perplexing cold file, one of Australia's most enduring and baffling mysteries. The initial flurry of activity, the forensic sweeps, the interviews, the aerial surveillance, had long since ceased, replaced by the quiet, persistent hum of an open but inactive investigation. The file remained on a shelf, a testament to an unresolved tragedy, a constant reminder of the couple who had simply vanished. The enduring uncertainty surrounding Janelle and Marco's fate cast a long, cold shadow. Their families lived in a perpetual state of limbo, denied the closure of knowing what had truly transpired on that remote spur. For the authorities, the case became a symbol of the untamed wilderness's power to conceal, a stark reminder of the limitations faced when evidence is scarce and the environment is vast and unforgiving. The Konkanen case was officially cold, a silent testament to the weight of the unknown, waiting for something, anything, to break its 4-year silence. 4 years into the silence, with the Konkanen case languishing in the cold file archives, a new technological frontier offered a glimmer of hope. Detective Erin Malloy, refusing to let the mystery wholly fade, had authorized a radical new approach, the deployment of an advanced unmanned aerial vehicle, UAV, to re-examine the vast, untouched expanses of the Onondaga high country. This initiative brought in Ty Fraser, a seasoned UAV pilot specializing in thermal imaging and geological mapping. Fraser's mission was not to find obvious clues, which had long since been obscured or missed, but to detect subtle disturbances invisible to the human eye or conventional aerial photography. The drone, equipped with highly sensitive thermal and multispectral cameras, possessed the capability to penetrate the canopy and analyze the ground beneath. It could detect minute variations in soil density, moisture content, and temperature, anomalies that might indicate human activity even years after the fact. Traditional search methods had been exhausted. The drone offered a chance to see the landscape in an entirely new light, searching for patterns that deviated from nature's undisturbed order. It was a painstaking process, mapping square kilometer after square kilometer of rugged terrain, often battling unpredictable mountain winds and challenging signal integrity. Then, the breakthrough arrived. While meticulously scanning an area roughly a kilometer from the Concannon's original burned campsite, specifically along an old, disused fire line, Ty Fraser's screen displayed an unmistakable deviation. The thermal footage highlighted distinct, unusual soil anomalies. These were not natural rock formations or typical changes in vegetation. They appeared as irregular patches of disturbed earth, exhibiting different thermal signatures compared to the surrounding undisturbed ground. The patterns suggested deliberate excavation and backfilling, creating a subtle but clear imprint on the landscape. This anomaly, though visually insignificant from the ground, stood out starkly in the drone's infrared spectrum, indicating ground disturbance and potential buried material. The discovery was immediate and profound. After 4 years of dead ends and increasing despair, this was the first tangible lead, a precise location that demanded closer inspection. Ty Fraser immediately recognized the significance of what his drone had captured. He secured the footage, meticulously logged the precise GPS coordinates, and without hesitation reported his findings to the authorities. The Onondaga High Country had held its secrets for too long, but technology had finally unveiled a potential truth hidden beneath its surface, reigniting a cold case with a jolt of urgent, renewed hope. The reporting of Ty Fraser's drone discovery shattered the 4-year silence surrounding Janelle and Marco Concannon. The cold case file, once relegated to a distant shelf, was now pulled back into the light, demanding immediate and focused attention. Detective Erin Malloy, a seasoned investigator whose career was marked by a tenacious pursuit of truth, was tasked with leading this revitalized inquiry. Her initial objective was clear: verify the drone data. Fraser's thermal images and precise GPS coordinates were meticulously cross-referenced with existing topographical maps and satellite imagery. Ground teams were dispatched to the specified location, a rugged section of an old fire line, to conduct preliminary visual assessments and confirm the environmental conditions matched the drone's readings. The subtle soil anomalies, though almost imperceptible to the naked eye, were indeed present, confirming the drone's incredible accuracy. This renewed effort, however, immediately confronted the same logistical nightmares that had plagued the initial investigation. The remote Onondaga High Country remained as unforgiving as ever. Establishing a full-scale forensic operation in such an isolated area demanded immense planning and resources. A temporary command post was erected several kilometers from the anomaly site, equipped with satellite communications, power generators, and temporary shelters for the influx of specialized personnel. Forensic anthropologists, archaeologists, and crime scene technicians, along with their sensitive equipment, had to be transported into the rugged terrain, often requiring custom 4-wheel drive vehicles and even helicopter support for heavier loads. Crucial local assistance emerged from Ruby Lee, the owner of a vast cattle station bordering the high country. Lee, intimately familiar with every track and nuance of the challenging landscape, became an invaluable asset. She provided investigators with critical insights into seasonal changes, potential access routes, and local weather patterns, offering not just logistical support, but also a deep understanding of the land's secrets. Her knowledge proved instrumental in navigating the complex terrain and ensuring the safety and efficiency of the teams. With the site verified and resources mobilized, the painstaking work of excavation began. Under Malloy's strict supervision, a strategic grid-based approach was implemented. Every layer of soil, every fragment of debris was to be carefully removed, documented, and analyzed. The atmosphere at the site was charged with a quiet intensity. After 4 long years of uncertainty, the teams understood they were on the cusp of potentially uncovering the definitive truth about Janelle and Marco Concannon. Each shovelful of earth, each sifted handful of soil, brought them closer to answering the question that had haunted so many: what truly happened on that remote spur? The Onondaga High Country had guarded its secrets for too long, but its defenses were finally being breached. The meticulous excavation at the Onondaga site progressed with painstaking slowness. each shovelful of earth sifted and examined under the watchful eyes of forensic specialists. As the initial layers of topsoil were carefully removed, the subtle ground disturbances identified by Ty Fraser's drone became more pronounced. To gain a clearer understanding of what lay beneath, investigators deployed advanced subsurface imaging technology, including ground-penetrating radar. This specialized equipment allowed teams to map the earth below without disturbing it, creating detailed three-dimensional representations of the subterranean landscape. The imaging results were stark and definitive. They revealed not just one, but two distinct, deliberately constructed clandestine burn pits, concealed beneath layers of backfilled soil and natural debris. These were not natural depressions or accidental fire scars. Their symmetrical shapes and calculated depth indicated a clear intent to hide and destroy. The discovery confirmed the worst fears. This was a premeditated crime scene, meticulously engineered to erase evidence. With the precise locations and dimensions of the pits mapped, the forensic excavation intensified, transforming into an even more delicate operation. Each pit was approached with the precision of an archaeological dig. Teams carefully removed the compacted earth, layer by painstaking layer, sifting every gram of material for anomalies. Within the charred remains of the first pit, fragments began to emerge, small pieces of metal, warped and discolored by intense heat, consistent with items found at a campsite. These were carefully documented and collected, providing initial clues about the objects consumed by the fire. Then, the pivotal discovery was made. Among the scorched earth and debris within the second pit, forensic anthropologists identified what appeared to be human remains. Further, a small, distinct piece of dental work was carefully retrieved. This fragment, though minute, represented an irrefutable identifier. Rapid forensic analysis and cross-referencing with Janelle Concannon's dental records provided an immediate, agonizing confirmation. The dental work belonged to Janelle. The subsequent retrieval of additional bone fragments and other personal effects from both pits, consistent with Marco Concannon's known characteristics and belongings, solidified the grim reality. The Onondaga mystery, which had baffled investigators for 4 long years, was finally solved, albeit with a tragic outcome. Janelle and Marco Concannon were no longer missing persons. Their remains had been found, revealing the horrifying truth concealed beneath the high country's surface. The case, with the confirmation of human remains and a deliberate act of concealment, officially shifted from a missing persons inquiry to a full-scale homicide investigation. The silence was broken, replaced by the chilling certainty of murder. The official announcement reverberated far beyond the remote reaches of the Onondaga high country, bringing a tragic, yet definitive end to 4 years of agonizing uncertainty. For the families of Janelle and Marco Concannon, the confirmation of their loved ones' deaths and the horrifying circumstances of their discovery replaced a lingering, desperate hope with an immutable, painful truth. The mystery of their disappearance was solved, but the outcome was the most devastating imaginable. The couple, once vibrant adventurers, had met a violent end, their lives extinguished on that isolated spur. In the aftermath of this grim revelation, the crucial contributions of those who refused to let the case fade into obscurity became clear. Detective Erin Malloy's tenacious leadership in reopening the cold file and orchestrating the complex forensic operation was instrumental. Her unwavering commitment ensured that every piece of evidence was meticulously handled, transforming a desolate landscape into a meticulously processed crime scene. UAV pilot Ty Fraser's groundbreaking application of thermal drone technology had provided the indispensable first lead, piercing through years of silence and the high country's natural veil. Without his innovative approach, the clandestine burn pits might have remained undiscovered indefinitely. Equally vital was the local knowledge and unwavering support provided by station owner Ruby Lee, whose intimate understanding of the treacherous terrain and logistical assistance proved invaluable to the investigative teams. With the discovery of the concealed burn pits and the confirmed identification of Janelle and Marco's remains, investigators now possessed a tangible crime scene. This allowed them to begin the arduous process of reconstructing the final moments of the Concannons' lives. The evidence from the pits, combined with the initial clues of suspicious tire marks and cryptic radio chatter, provided a foundation for understanding the timeline and circumstances of the homicides. The focus shifted from where they were to how and by whom they were killed. The resolution of the missing persons aspect of the case marked a new, determined path forward. The objective was now clear: to identify and apprehend the individual responsible for the brutal murders of Janelle and Marco Concannon. This was no longer merely a search for answers, but a relentless pursuit of justice. The Wanangata case, once a symbol of baffling disappearance, transformed into a testament to the enduring power of persistence, the transformative potential of advanced technology, and the unwavering quest for truth, even in the most remote and unforgiving corners of the world. The High Country had surrendered its secrets, and the hunt for the killer had truly begun.